What is up, everyone? Another fine episode of Gym Guys Podcast, episode 22. We've got a phenomenal guest for you, phenomenal person. And before we get into the history and trials and tribulations and all of his great experience and stories that he's going to share, allow me to introduce the co host of Gym Guys Podcast. Diagonally to my left or to my right, depending on how you're looking at me, we got Scotty Applebaum, IFBB Pro winner, 4 pro cards at the 2023 NPC Universe. Eric and I were there to witness it in person. It was unbelievable, and so happy to have him as one of our co-hosts. He defies physique, condition, age, whatever you want to call it. And he's doing it. He's also a body composition and wellness coach, specific to integrated wellness, if I'm not mistaken. And it's considered the most comprehensive training, dieting, guidance, nutrition for those that want to, go anti-aging as well as longevity and just overall fitness throughout their whole life. So we've got one heck of a resource on this podcast. Uh, to my right or to my left, depending on how you look at me, is Mr. Eric Schwartz, CEO of Paw Power. I always say maker of just unbelievable dog supplements, omega fish oils, dog designed peanut butter so dogs could take in their medication a lot easier and the right way without all the crappy sugars and things that we put in regular peanut butters. I know he just came out with an immune booster supplement as well not too long ago. He's on his way to the Super Pet Expo this week, so you got to look for him out there. Otherwise, he'd be coming to the Arnold with some
That's
of
right.
us. And also a great reviewer of supplements. If you're not catching his shows on TikTok and or on Instagram, does a lot of great shorts, especially with his experience with how many decades, Eric, in the supplement
14
business?
years in the human nutraceutical world.
Wow. And now applying it to the canine world, which
Yeah,
we
just
all
got my
appreciate.
I just got certified as a pet nutrition coach.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Little old me, Drago 1850, Chris Scotto, just get the opportunity to spend great podcasts with everyone here. Animal ambassador as well, and looking forward to the Arnold in a couple of days. So, as I get started, our next guest is someone that I met with the scenery that you see behind me, Destination Dallas Gym. I had been there on a trip, staying at one of the local hotels in Dallas, and I had about 2 hours to spare between me getting from the hotel to the airport via Uber. And I said, there's no way that I'm not stopping by this legendary gym just to see what the heck's going on. Uh, Long story short, lo and behold, I walk into the gym and there is Joe to greet me. Upon walking in, I see a barber to the right and Johnny O. Jackson walks into the left. And Joe said, "Hey, what do you think of today? You going to train?" I said, "I don't have the time, quite honestly, but I had to see the gym." He's like, "Let me take you around." And he just gave me this unbelievable tour of this gym, not only introducing me to people, giving me a shirt, describing the different pieces of equipment that they procured over the years that are really some rare pieces of equipment that I've never seen before, super duper heavy duty stuff. And I just had like the best like hour and change there before I had to get back in the Uber and get back to the airport. So I never forgot it. We always checked up on each other, whether it was weather related, sports related, and all that. So he's a very, very accomplished man. Competitive. I'll kind of go through it. He's trained since he was 10 years old.
Lots of
Uh,
reps.
I mean, which I would encourage. That is legal and everyone should do it. Does not stunt your growth, even though I'm kind of proof of that. But
That's,
since
that's
10,
an
since
old
10
wife. That's
years,
an old wives' tale, you know.
it is a whole West Tale.
Yeah.
And trained since 10 years old, inspired by Arnold and Stallone. Obviously fascinated by the changes that he was making with his body as he was going through the processes and the journey, right? It's all about the journey. His first show was in 2001. I believe he weighed 147. His first win was 2015 at just over 180. And after that, he had a little bit of a layoff. His last show, the last show that he did was in 2017, which is the Junior Nationals. I forgot where you placed that. Was that seventh? You
Yeah.
placed the Junior
Yeah.
Nationals. So in 2017, and then after that, he has both knees replaced.
What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I told you guys this is no joke. We don't bring no joke guests on this show. I mean, Joe's been through a lot, seen a lot, has done a lot. He also is a state record powerlifter holder.
Love
We
it.
want to talk to you about that as well.
Love it.
And not to dismiss all those great things, but probably the best and most important thing is the type of person that he is and the coach that he is at Destination Dallas since 2010, coaching everywhere from soccer moms to pro bodybuilders to top amateurs. You could see him on Instagram. We'll get into all the different ways that you can reach him, but also represents GASP, which is some of the emblems or logos you see behind me, as well as Better Bodies, which I'm representing here. And
Yeah.
obviously, they just celebrated 40 years, I think, with the brand, if I'm not mistaken, in
Yeah.
2023.
It's easy to remember because same year as my brother was born. So
Oh, so that's
I
easy.
send
And
him stuff all the time.
Same as Animal Pack, right?
Yeah.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, same as Animal Pack. So I've excited everyone enough. He's 47 years young. Please help me welcome Joe Fantauzzi. Again, I can't again express my gratitude with just the relationship we've had over, I guess, since September till
Yeah.
now, and having you on the show. So thank you, Joe. Of
Appreciate the invite.
Has
course.
has Joe ever won Best Poser award?
No, I have not. Um,
Now
Has
he
four
snuck that in
time
there,
has four
Scotty.
time IFBB Pro Card winner Scott Applebaum ever won Best Poser award?
yes, I have.
Ah, damn it!
they
No, that blows my whole thing. So
just didn't have them at the shows I competed at. But I started piano at 4, so
He's got the
music's very important to me. So like I actually when I do pose, I pose to the music and don't just half-ass it like some people.
This is this is Eric's plaque from 1991, Joe.
1991, before a lot of people watching is probably even born.
Oh
Yeah,
man.
that was what, like 13, 14, I don't know.
We're just
Joe,
messing. We're just having some fun.
Joe, I've been competing so long. They used to have, best poser, most muscular,
Yeah.
best arms, best
Yeah.
legs. They gave so many different awards out.
Yeah, it's funny you guys say that because like we've been playing. We have a big screen as you saw on Chris's background. I don't know if you can see, but we play a lot of YouTubes, not only ours, but they've been playing the classic guys all week, and I'm like, they're playing the '90s guys, and I'm like, am I that classic already? I mean, I'm not that old, but classic, I think of like the '80s, the early '80s, and of course Arnold's time. But I was like, well, I guess I'm getting up there. A car's a classic at 20 years old, so I
Yeah.
got that beat.
Yeah.
Joe, I can appreciate that because I work with a lot of younger athletes, both men and women who are competing. And when they ask me, well, who's this guy Joe Wider? I'm like, excuse me?
Oh boy.
I go, it's Joe Weider, and you would not be here today. You would not be competing today if this man did not do what he did.
Right, but if you say Joe Weider, you gotta say it in his accent.
Oh yeah.
That's the way you
Joe,
gotta say it. I
It's
can't
like
do it
Joe
because
Weider, Joe Weider.
no,
That's as close as I'm gonna get.
they'll probably think you're
Not
losing.
bad.
It wasn't bad. I
That's
know.
not bad, Scott.
Scotty, Eric, and Joe, you guys probably remember the commercials if we all worked at GNCs or whatever stores we worked back in the day with, what was it, Carbo Fire and Mega Mass, and Joe, we were like, oh,
Muscle
all
builder.
my champions, take all this product, my champions.
Very good. That's a pretty good one too.
Yeah, it's good too. Yeah.
Holy cow.
So
Oh,
yeah, tell us more about yourself. Obviously I did
all
did
right.
the
Yeah,
intro.
I'll go in a little deeper. And um, we brought up my knees, and everyone was like, "What'd you do? Did you do something, to work out or while working out?" And I'm like, "No, I was actually born with juvenile rheumatoid arthritis." So I always tell people that's like coming out of the chute with 30-year-old joints already. So it was just a detour. And one thing that I hated growing up, when you went to those doctors, they're like, "Oh, you have this, you can't." I was like, "Really? Watch this. I can accept," and I try to teach this to everybody too, as you guys are probably all the same way, is like, I can accept I can't as long as I've tried and I realize I can't, not because you tell me. So it's like, you tell me I can, I'm gonna try that much harder. I was always, man, I just saw something online about them trying to change obese as that being a bad name and triggering people now. And I was like, I remember having husky clothes, and that made me not mad or upset, like, oh, you're making fun of me, but like, hey, I got to get out of there for my health, even at that young age of 10. And talking about being short, I started with the cement weights in the basement. So being short actually helped at that time, you know, because you only had so much room to get up there.
Yeah, I remember having a 110-pound weight set. It was it was plastic with a cement inside and
Yeah,
a little thin bar, and I would be down there for hours.
me too. And, you know, um, half the people down here are like, what's the basement? I go, yeah, we're in Texas. But, and it'd be cold as, the basement's up north, it's cold. But didn't matter. I'd be in there 2-3 hours a night. Didn't know what I was doing really, but I was trying. And then probably, I started playing football. Just to give you a reference, to give you a visual. So the end of my freshman year in high school, I was about 5'2", 198. I grew to 5'5". The beginning of my sophomore year, I got down to 147. I had a 27-inch waist, but still no abs, just like the main line down. So I have a really, really small frame, a lot of muscle on it, but that's why I don't appear as big as some other people. But I went from playing the line to playing linebacker and fullback because I was strong. But grew up doing that. I have these two guys that were actual brothers, are kind of like my adopted big brothers. And I remember being, I don't know, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. Obviously, I can't bench 315, but they would get on both sides and let me feel the weight. And I'd get as much, and obviously it was safe. So like, it really pushed me to be stronger. And, the one older brother's like, you got to eat to get big. Well, back then we didn't really know what to eat, and I just ate and I got big, just the wrong big. Um, it is what it is. And then between when I lost all that weight, my mom actually thought I went anorexic. I was like, no, it was a growing spurt because I would sleep till noon. I'd have breakfast. I'd go work out for 2 or 3 hours, and then be in bed by like 6 or 7 because that was like my big growth spurt.
You slept a lot, huh?
During that summer, yeah, I guess it was just, and I still, if I get wore out, my body would be like, we're done, and I'll sleep 12 hours on occasion. Um, so that, and then when I moved to Texas, and like I said, I've always kept working out and the stuff, learning. And back in the day, you had the magazines, so there wasn't as much information as we have now. Like I was telling my wife a story of the only guy that I looked like he could have maybe competed. He's probably a wrestler. He was like maybe 215, and I would say 7-8%. That was the leanest guy in my little community that I grew up that I saw. So there wasn't like as much exposure. You had to go looking for it. When I moved down here in Dallas, of course, there's more influence. So, and I moved here in '98, about 2001, or I did like everyone the diets myself up to that and got pretty lean. My first show, I didn't know how long to go out. I actually prepped like 7-8 weeks for it. I think I came down from like 170, and I could have kept going. Like I didn't know about double cardio. I was lifting 4 days a week. I didn't, squat, deadlift, and do all the heavy stuff at that point. But when I got done with that show, and I looked so young, everyone thought I was a teen actually. But I really started studying more on how to grow in bigs. Like my back day, I was like, I'm gonna have the biggest back, the one for back. So I did a deadlift, barbell, heavy T-bar was my meat and potatoes, and then some cables and stuff, and my back grew. And I did that with legs, and I was always good squatting because I was close to the ground, like so not that far to go. But squatting and deadlifts are my things, and I'm a firm believer that that's where, if you want that dense muscle, especially when you're young, to grow that original muscle, you have to do those big compound movements. And being influenced with Johnny and Branch, Johnny, what more Johnny first. I was always lifting when he was lifting like a Stroud's. Actually met him in 2001 at the 24-hour when he won his pro card. And when you go to Stroud, I don't know if you ever heard of Stroud's. It's one of the big powerlifting strongman gyms in mid cities.
I've seen it in the background with some of his video clips.
Stroud's, yeah, it's a good gym. Ronnie would come there every now. They had a back room that had all the powerlifters in. Kind of made me think of the jungle, the back room that Lee Haney has in his gym when he had that. And that's really when okay, well, I got to move some weight to grow. So I did a couple shows. I wanted to go forever. In my first marriage, the kid's mom didn't like competitive. She's like, why do you have to compete? But I'm like, you don't understand, when you're competitive, you got to get it out somewhere. So if it's not this, it's got to be something else. And that's where the big break was. And then once, obviously, that ended, I was like, I'm going to come back. And I don't know, do you guys know Jonathan Irizarry?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So both being Puerto Rican, and when when you're a coach that gets a coach, it's really just to have someone to, keep you centered, because you're always going to be too harsh on yourself. So I told him, I said, I got a 3-year plan, and I want to be back to my best within 3 years, because with my genetics, my dad goes, well, you're screwed twice. I go, what do you mean, Dad? He goes, you gain fat and muscle very fast. Meaning, like, I can put the line between gaining just muscle and fat's really, small for me. But, I accept that. So I know that for me personally to look my best, I have to come down, do a show, kind of cruise for a couple months, then come down and like 3 preps in. So that's fine. So we did that, and that's what culminated in the junior nationals. The reason we went to 174, because at that time, classic was 175 for the cutoff. So me and Izzy were like, well, let's see what I look like. And I was peeled, but I couldn't fill back out, And so if I can get that condition with the fullness of my 182 will be, but they moved classic to 182, I think, for 5'7". So we'll see. From there, and as far as going with the history of Gas and Bear Bodies as a destination, y'all know Metroplex, obviously, the original Metroplex, Brian Dox.
Got to train there a couple of times, luckily.
Yeah, that's it's funny how that looks so big on camera.
Oh yeah, it's small.
When you get in there, you're like, where, this is the Lily B place. Well, Greg McCoy now has Hidden Gym.
I know Greg as well. Good guy.
Yeah, he was the first franchise of Metroflex, so Metroflex Plano. So he had bought that. He had got a degree in marketing and said, hey, let me use my degree on what I love. Great idea. Started building up that, but he wanted to go expanding, and his ideas didn't kind of stay in that franchise fully of what Brian wanted. So that's when we became Destination. We had a building. It was 2012 or so, somewhere in there, that they built a new building, and then we were there outgrew that. And then 2019, fall of 2019, we moved into the current building that you have visited, Chris. And right now, speculation, that's a 7-year contract that we might, because we've already kind of outgrown it, like, immediately.
How many square feet is it?
It's like a 15 square floor, 15,000, I think, the square floor.
Okay.
So we have everything combined. So before that, with Gas and Better Bodies, you had, they wanted everybody together. So you had you had a store for a little while. Then they had the corporate in a different building, and then the gym. So they wanted everything together. So like when you come to our location now, you have the corporate people for Gas and Better Bodies, and then you have the shipping department that ships all the clothes. They do all of America. They do everywhere. Yeah.
So right I haven't been to the new one. I was I didn't realize you guys moved in 2019. I was there twice prior, but I haven't been there since that. So
yeah, we had to wait on our inspection for 2 weeks. So coaches were like, we got to work. We're not making money. And then, and then 2020 when it locked down, we're like, we're still not making money. Like, can we just get going, please?
How far is the new building from the prior one, distance wise?
5 minutes, 7 minutes. It's just like where you were at by that Target. You just go north. There's more money, like as far as community in Allen, Plano, McKinney, and Frisky, kind of like that's where all higher income is, farther out. So it's a good place to be. We had actually started and raised our prices, and we had a student discount, and we had to actually get rid of it because parents just pay for it, and the kids are being too many, because it's not knocking on kids or nothing, but like it just got too crowded. So we try to keep it at a certain level, so to speak. But like I said, we've been there since late 2019. So I mean, really, we're almost at 5 years. So a couple of years here, we might see and hopefully build something bigger.
Wow.
Like Chris was saying, I mean, we're always getting new equipment. One of the great things is we have the power. So like, if you see something on marketplace or something that we like, we'll tell them, was like, hey, we need this part, and can you get this? And 9 times out of 10, we'll get it. Sometimes we get stuff that just shows up that we don't know is coming. But like we have custom, like I was saying earlier, we have a new set finally of custom dumbbells coming up to 250 pounds. So not many gyms go past what
200, and even 200s. I mean, anything above 200 is unheard of.
Yeah.
Right.
You rarely see above 150. Like,
well, and with me personally, even if I was that strong, I'm so big, it's like a little, you can't use them anyway. But our 200, this is kind of a funny story. Our 200, we had this kid in there that would wear, it almost looked like he's ready to go to combat. But anyway, he was taking the 200 and basically doing a shake weight move, like a bicep thing, and wound up dropping and snapped it and broke it.
Oh, shit.
And the story was they're going to make him pay for it, but I haven't seen him since, so I don't know what wound up being that way. But it's a funny crowd, because I came up, like all of us came up with, I go tell people, why they called Dorian the Shadow? And they're like, why? I go, because he kept his clothes on till the last minute. And, it's funny, I'm making fun of people. Like this morning, you got these guys doing cardio. You got James Hollinshead, a pro that's competing in 3 days, covered up, doing his cardio. And then you got some goofball with his shirt off. And I'm just like, who's standing next to you? Do you even know? But we have a good thing. The gym's great. It's a typical thing. 5 a.m. club is your CEOs, your doctors, all people like that. And then it turns into the moms at 9, 10 o'clock, stay home moms. And, the coaches train usually mid-afternoon. And then you got everybody else that gets off at work, and then they come in at night. So, and and this is something that we do every third Saturday. We have a thing called Breakfast and Barbells, and it's an open house gym, so everybody can come. And then we have
got the mug,
got the food coming. Yeah. So, and then Dallas Prep Kitchen, which is a local food prep company, brings in breakfast. So literally, you can come work out for free and have healthy breakfast.
That's cool.
Yeah, I prefer real bacon, but it's nice because a lot of times you see the same people, but there's some people that don't, get to, they're far away because the Metroplex, like a lot of people don't realize how big it is. Like if I leave my house, which is just north of the gym, and drive to the Fort Worth Zoo, it's 60 miles and you never leave city. And, like in the city in New York, a lot of stuff's compact and up. We're all just spread out. We have a weekend membership. We have people that drive on the weekend, hour and a half just to train at our gym, which is kind of cool. But what I like about that the most is like Chris was saying, and you guys are all aware of it. Like, I have a friend I competed with in my second show. We still talk every now and then, and it's just like a small, big family, so to speak. I tell people, yeah, Branch and Trish Warren were at my wedding, and they're like, what? Cool. I was like, yeah, it's just Branch. What's the big deal? One of my clients' husbands, and he's like 6'4", 6'5", and Branch is down there, and he's like, is that Branch Warren? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, oh my god. And I'm like, dude, it's cool. It is what it is. And then like Guy Cisternino, one of our athletes forever as well. And me and him, like half the people when we have our hats on think we're related because Italian names and the beards. But like, and then I remember we used to have Hide Yamagishi on the team too. And what's cool is, when you see him, if you change in your physique, you'd be like, oh, you look good. Like they would remember.
That's cool.
Everybody. And that's just kind of cool. It's like, you don't get an award for it or anything. But they remember that, hey, did you compete? You look leaner and stuff like that.
You got Sean Clarita on the team, and now he's a Texan.
He is, yeah. He's so funny. Because Jay, the barber, trains with him now, like as a workout partner. Mm-hmm. And they were laughing about how, and Jay's like 6'1".
Yeah, I'm sure.
So they're changing machine.
5'2". Yeah.
Yeah, but no, he's here. I mean, Evogen moved here. Honey's here.
Yeah, I know a lot of bodybuilders that moved there recently.
Chris
Chris
Tuttle.
Tuttle. Yep.
Yep.
Elias McCall, he just moved out there with his wife. Yeah, Texas is like the kind of the place to be now for bodybuilders.
Yeah, well, yeah, we get a lot of people. Like, it's funny though, the people of California, they'll be like, I moved from California, and you'll get a dirty look, and they're like, "Don't worry, I like guns. It's fine." It's the right people. But yeah, it's a big melting pot, so you cannot not have a good time. And the best thing about the gym, and what I appreciate from a a competitor standpoint, is you can be having a bad day, but at the right times, you can still feed off the vibe because everybody there goes to work. And when people come in, I'm like, it doesn't matter what your goal is. If it's dropping 50 pounds of fat, if it's trying to set a record on, some powerlifting move or strongman, people are there to work. Last night it was extremely busy, and some of the powerlifters are getting ready for a meet, and I'm at the other with the client. And normally we make fun of certain people that yell and scream for no reason for attention. But one thing in body or powerlifting was you're lifting the whole crowd, the whole people there cheering for you. And I was like, yeah, that's why I like both. That's powerlifting does that. Bodybuilding, not so much.
Yeah, that's such a weird thing about those sports. Like,
I like them both, but
yeah,
you
me
know,
too.
I think it also depends on the gym, you know.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was in Diamond Gym
Yep.
several years ago, and I was training there with my stepson and a couple other people, and my stepson was squatting, and the whole gym got behind him, and we're like, egging him on because he went for like one of the top weights he ever used, and he was doing reps. Everybody was like just around it, and it was like the vibe was incredible.
Yeah, you can't see it on Chris's picture, but to the right there where the leg is, we have actually a record board. So if you want to do a legit record, you have to do it powerlifting style, obviously. But if you do it, they have a competition and gym. So if you want to put your name up there and get then you just have to do it, and then everyone knows and has something to shoot for.
That's great.
Yeah, it's got a lot of character, this gym. It really does.
Yeah, and even Michael Johansson, the owner of the whole place, he'll come out and just start randomly talking to people, and it's not like the upper management is out of reach of people, and that's kind of cool too.
Well, you're creating a culture. You're really creating a culture is what you've done.
That's the idea. Yeah, that's the idea. And sometimes when you create that culture, you have to still push it a little bit marketing wise. The idea is kind of like some people will be like, "Oh, it should speak for themselves." I was like, "Yeah, but you still need to make money."
You have to make you have to build
make a little, yeah. So like, what the cool thing with Gas and Better Bodies is, where was I at? I was either in Atlanta airport or Richmond, one of those two, somewhere on the East Coast. And, you see a guy with a gas shirt, and I have one on, you got the head bump. It's like, hey, you're one of us,
They've done an amazing job with you talk about culture with their ambassadors and building a community.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of a good brand when you have a community like that.
Yeah. And I don't know if you guys follow online, like, the Facebook groups and stuff like that. I mean, it's constantly posted.
It's fantastic.
We have our own on-staff videographer. So anytime I need to do a video or want to put something together with clients or whatever, we do that. Like I said, it's just a great place to be. Excuse me.
So, Joe, where did you live before you lived in Texas? Where'd you grow up?
So I was originally born in Woodhaven. Woodhaven, Queens.
Oh, okay.
Really?
Awesome.
Okay.
Love it.
Yeah. My dad, I think I told Chris the story. My dad's Puerto Rican. My mom had moved there from Iowa to help her brother with rent. He was doing some missionary stuff. And they met me, or had me, got married, had me a year later. I was literally a honeymoon baby. And then if y'all remember the Son of Sam murders.
Sure.
Of course.
Apparently we lived really close to that. So they wanted somewhere safe. So instead they said, well, let's go where mom lived, was Iowa. Only bad part about that is I'm allergic to corn pollen, and it's a damn corn.
Jesus.
Yeah. Now,
I've actually never heard of anybody being allergic to corn.
Oh yeah, dude, it's not the best. It's like you sneeze from August to when the first frost is. But it's funny because she would tell me when we go back visit my grandparents, when I was a toddler, 4 or 5 years old, 3, 4, 5, I'd always be, I guess I had a sour face on when we were in Iowa. As soon as we got to the city, I'd light up because I was like, I'm definitely a city boy. That being said, I love country stuff, but I love being in the city. So where I live in McKinney, which is just north of the gym, it's like the last city before the country. So you kind of got the best, you got the small town feel. We have a great downtown, old school square downtown, but then 30 minutes, you're anywhere in the city that you need to be, for concerts or shows or anything like that. And which is nice because like Nationals moved here to Dallas this last year and they'll be here. I think it's a 3-year contract, if I remember right. That's 30 minutes down the road. If I have a client or need to, for a big show like that. Last time I was here was 2002. And Texas NPC, I don't know how much you guys follow it, but we have about 24 to 28 shows a year.
Oh yeah, I know.
I mean, we were just locking in shows with a couple of my clients. I'm like, well, do you want to travel? Here's one. If you don't do this, it's 2 weeks later. I was trying to push him to Johnny's show because he has a really good show. Usually the last week before North Americans, but I think it moved up a weekend. But anyway, it's a great show. And the funniest thing with that show is across the hall is the gun show the same weekend every year. So it's like
got to draw a big crowd.
Gun show.
Yeah, the joke runs all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like the sign says, "Please empty your firearms before entering." And I'm like, "How do I empty this?" That's awesome. But great thing because Johnny's been putting a lot of powerlifting in his shows as well. So a lot of the shows down here have a slight powerlifting event.
Good.
And then that, remember how he said it? He was explaining it to me. It's not that we're paying the athletes, but like the winners get like a gift card that's basically a covered entry or something like that.
That's cool, man.
So like some of the shows down, a lot of the and Betty will do that too with their shows. Like the overall get paid for nationals if they want to go, or at least their entry. Say $400. I mean,
yeah, that's cool.
Sport isn't cheap. I would say
no, it's not.
Like, my hobbies are firearms, golf, and bodybuilding, and none of them are cheap.
Got that right.
So, all right, Joe, I'm going to ask you a Texas question. Sorry to cut you off there, Chris.
No, please do.
I am a big fan of barbecue and a huge fan of Texas barbecue. I'm assuming you like barbecue. Maybe I shouldn't assume that.
Yeah.
What's your go-to spot over there?
If you have all the time in the world, you need to go Salt Lick in Austin.
Okay, I've heard of that.
Yeah, they literally have the pit like in the middle of the restaurant.
Yeah,
you walk in and this place is huge too. It's been a minute since I've been there, but they have picnic table type benches and a bunch of stuff. Salt Lick, and then they were supposed to put a Salt Lick in one of the airports. I just don't remember which. And then we have one Hutchins Barbecue, which is just up the street from us. So if you come to our gym, that's where I would take you, to Hutchins. Yeah. And the jalapeno, stuffed jalapenos, and they literally have like 3 abuelas making thousands of them every week, and then they sell out.
That's grandma in Spanish, guys.
Yep.
I'm aware.
Or so usually abuelitas, but yeah.
We're gonna do that. We're gonna come to Texas, train, get some barbecue. Though Coach Scotty won't eat it; it's not on his program. But
let me ask you: do you used to post a lot of stuff on your barbecuing?
I used to do a lot of barbecue. I just don't have a lot of. I don't have a lot of time to do it. Barbecue takes time, man.
Yeah, but you were like starting to post a lot.
I actually entered a barbecue competition, and it was fucking hard, man.
Grill Masters, yeah, we do that. I mean, I know everybody gets all like, "What's the best barbecue?" It's like, oh, just whatever you like.
Yeah, it's subjective, but I know Texas has such great spots, man.
Everything is better in Texas. No, everyone's like, "Why are they so stuck up?" I was like, they were a country originally, and that kind of like mentality is always stuck.
Well, everything except the Cowboys.
Yeah, don't even get started on that. Actually, I coach a former Cowboy right now. He retired and wants to stay in shape. He's retired 6 or 7 years, Lemon. So he goes, "I'm coming in for my therapy," and I just start listening. Some of the stories. But yeah, we do that, and then have you ever been the Texas Stadium, AT&T?
No, I would like to. I've never.
Bro, let me tell you something. Don't go in the wrong door, because so you can't cut across the whole time. So like if you're in the 400s and you go in the wrong door, you literally gotta go all the way up, across, and all the way back down. I did that and it took 30 minutes. That's how,
Wow.
and that's moving at a good pace too.
I've seen the videos of, because apparently they have standing room only seats,
Yeah,
and
it's like a cattle rush when it
when
comes
they
in.
first open the doors, you just see people rushing through, and it's because they want to get a good spot at the
And
standing
it's
room
literally
only.
right there too. So it's like being at a bar, you know, they have tables and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Um, yeah, we have a friend that works, so she's like a senior VP at Pepsi Frito-Lay. So she gets company tickets. So the last ones we got were in the 100s.
Sweet.
We were maybe 15 rows off the field.
Nice.
Now it's like, well, I don't want to go back to the seats I can afford, but it's
Yeah.
it's pretty ridiculous. So
It's like when you fly first class, you never want to go back to coach, right?
right. Or if
Same.
you get in a suite, yeah, you're like, yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's great. But like I tell everybody, I was like, I was pulling for the Chiefs, not only because it's my grandpa's team and kind of my second team, but I was like, the Niners can't get Super Bowl 6 before we get Super Bowl 6. But Jimmy Johnson just signed on as a consultant now. So maybe Jerry, after 25, 30 years, will listen a little bit.
That's a good move.
I don't know. The man knows how to make money. So, because Tito's and diet is like $28.
Wow.
Yeah.
And they, for a while they were very, very, disconnected, Jimmy and Jerry,
Yeah.
and now you
Yes.
see they slowly got, back together.
Maybe time heals stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Jerry looks like he don't look like he has many years left.
You're right about that. Yeah.
But yeah, so I was thinking I had taken some notes about, and you guys probably see this too because you've been um what I wanted to talk about was some of the things that I see in the sport that different change from when I started versus now. And one of the biggest things that I've talked to people about is realistic expectations. And you have one of the hardest things I have as a coach, and you guys might be able to, hear this out too, is that with the event of instant everything and the culture of everything and social media, people like they'll come to me, never, or not me, but just everybody. They'll come and say, "Hey, I want to compete." Oh yeah, okay. What? Well, I want to be pro this year, and I want to do the Olympia next year. And I'm like, okay. And it, you know, I always like to use pros as example. So let's use Milos right now with Samson.
Mhm.
What Samson was like the first show Milos did versus what Samson's looks like now obviously improves. So you'll get people, and we find this because this drives me insane because I don't, I still got the East Coast part of me where I shoot from the hip. I don't sugarcoat, and people will do a show, not get first place, and be like, "Oh, I'm switching coaches, or I'm doing this, or I'm doing that," and I'm like, it takes a show or two to figure you out. First of all,
100%.
like I've got my base
100%, Joe.
style, and if you competed and you come to me, the first thing I'm going to say is, what do you feel works best for your body? I have my way, but like, what do you feel? And that's more of a team effort. And I just had an instance, and you're not going to name names, but um, a guy that was already top level. Chris will know who I'm talking to, but just don't say
Yep.
names. I don't want to get
No,
anybody.
I respect that.
But it got injured, got placed, and then says, "Oh, nothing against you. You did a great job, but I got an offer I couldn't refuse." So I'm thinking somebody like Matt Jensen called up, or what, Hani called up, somebody like that, and it turned out to be one of the local judges or what coaches in our gym. I'm like, okay, what do you say to because he would have had to approach you, and I was like, that's just not cool because you don't get a chance. Like, and this is not me saying this in spite, but it's like I had a whole plan for your off season. Now I know how your body works. We could went here and there. And, that's what I'm talking about. Like when I picked my coach, I said, you got 3 years. I'm going to stay with you 3 years. At least this is my plan because I know we're going to have to figure it out. And with unrealistic expectations, some of these younger competitors, so if they would get first place or overall right away, they're just, I'm out. I'm going on to the next one. And it's like, if you realize it's a progressive, whether you have pro genetics or not, everything is a progress. You go look, I always tell people when you're dieting, if you're like, say 250, you take your pictures, you diet down, you competed at 210, and you took pictures at 220. When you come back up, that 220 pictures coming back should look better than the 220 coming down. And they're like, what? I go, yeah, because it's a transition. You have to get better.
Composition.
I remember, yeah, and another thing was like I remember hearing Palumbo say one time, he goes, "Yeah, you can copy my diet, but when it stops working, what are you gonna do now?" And I always love that. And like I actually have one other client that she's using. So when I coach on my in gym, I do nutrition and programming. That's part of the price, so it's not like extra. And
I do the same thing, Joe. I
yeah,
want to control. I want to control all the variables.
right, because and see, that's a very good point, because if someone's coming to you, say, to gain size, lose weight, whatever, and you don't control the food, your hands are kind of tied behind your back. I could push you in the gym, make you lift something you've never lifted, but if you're not getting fueled properly, you might not recover properly, and you might not grow properly, or or you might not lose weight because you're, not eating the right amount. I have a client now. She was having someone else program her because disloyally, and I'm like, I'll do that for free. And she wasn't losing weight. Test was a little high, but everything else was normal. She got back from this younger lady coach. Well, you're getting ready to go through menopause. Go keto to lose weight. And I'm like, what? I says, why don't you try it my way for a few weeks? And the hardest thing is to convince people is most people don't eat what they should be eating anyway, just for their BMR, let alone their activity level. I said, you gotta be patient. Let me feed you for 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it is, and then let me pull you down. Same thing. So now the last 3 or 4 weeks, pound and a half down every week. And I go, isn't this so much better than that? We had to figure you out. We found your numbers. Now it's working. But you got to allow it to happen. And even myself, like, I'm not getting the calories I should right now because I'm not really competing. But when I start eating, I feel like my belly's out to here, even though it's not fat, fat. And it's a hard thing for people to actually look at. Hold on a second. Can't see my writing. Oh, okay. But yeah, I find it interesting. Is like, I really wish more people would in our sport just be honest, and people listen, that they wouldn't rush to try and be this and be that. And but I try my best. As far as the rest of my clients, like I said, probably transformation clients are my favorite because those are more life changing.
I agree 100%.
And I had a guy. He's kind of like he actually walked. Me and my wife just got married this September, so her father wasn't able to travel because he got hurt. And so this guy wound up walking her down. So that's how close he is, besides just a client. But he had high cholesterol, high blood pressure, and he's 6. He played tight end at Texas Tech way back in the day. So big, tall guy. And he was going to do 3 months, wound up doing 6 months with me. And he dropped like 50, 60 pounds. And he goes, man, I haven't ate this much. And I was like, dude, I'll even do your wife's diet for free, because it don't take me any time to do that. And she lost a bunch of weight, and she wasn't even working out just by changing her eating habits. And I was like, see, now you're off your medication. That's saving money there, not having to go, or, that's always frustrating me, where just in general, with our cultures, there's not our culture, but the culture of this country, is there's so many things you can take care of yourself, but no one has the willpower to do it. And they just sit around and it's like, well, I'll just take a pill. I was like, well, you don't need to. Come get healthy. Because, when you go to the gym, it's not just, so many people think it's because of an insecurity or this or that, which, that's a lot of times why you start working out, some sort of insecurity, and that's fine. But when you like what I always tell people, I says, one day when I do my intro for a new person, when I'm having our first meeting, I go, my goal is so you get out of the shower one day, look in the mirror and go, holy shit, look at me. And I was like, that feeling that you get from that sense of accomplishment, there's not many other things you can get that from, And as far as competing, I always tell people too, they're like, well, it's so hard. So I tell you what, if you get to stage, you just did something 98% of the population can't even handle. And when you do that, that makes you more productive in everything else you do. Because I was a network engineer for 25 years. When I competed, or 20 years, I'm sorry. When I competed, I knew, hey, I had to get this done in 3 hours because my next meal was coming up. I wasn't dilly-dallying. And you just become more proficient in everything in life, in my opinion.
No, you're 100% right. It's not your opinion. It's a fact.
Yeah. And it's funny. We're like, because my wife works from home. So a lot of times if I'm doing computer work, she's right here. And I'm like, what time is it? Oh, it must be time to eat. My stomach You know, and I tell people that and they're like, really? I go, trust me. You know, and a lot of times, and what I do, what I'm best at probably as a coach, really quick, because I'm watching the clock too, is what Chris didn't say is I actually just had another surgery in December. I had two discs replaced in my neck. Because last year I thought I had torn my tricep, and I did wind up having a little tear in the muscle belly, not at the attachments, but wound up being that I had 50% compression on my right side and 25 on this side. So if I did a front double, it looks like someone literally cut off my tricep right now. So I had that fixed. So that's 9 weeks tomorrow. So, you know, people say I'm like a cat times 10. It's like 12. I've had 12 surgeries, and I don't use that as an excuse not to. And one thing I have learned, and one thing I see with some of the older guys in the gym, is they keep doing things that their body can't handle and they're miserable. And it's like you have to learn at a certain point, whatever it is that you can handle, appreciating it and train in that bubble, whatever it might be. You know, if you have to pull down 10%, you know, if you used to shoulder press 315 and now you're 60, 65 years old, guess what? That might not happen, and that's okay. 225 is still heavy, you know? And, you know, people are like, how do you do it? How do you do it? I was like, I don't know anything different. I don't know. Sometimes, you know, I have a hard time being sympathetic to people with pain because I've had it all my life. And it's just always been a thing. Like, it's always there. You just deal with it and don't let it stop you. And what I try to do in my training, because I've probably had every injury, it seems like it, is if someone's hurt, 9 times out of 10, what they do, they're like, well, I'm going to take weeks off of the gym. I was like, why? You just work around it. We'll figure a way. If your knee hurts at this point, you know, like let's say your knee hurts at the top of the squat. Well, squat down and stay here for a little bit, or your leg press, and then it only hurts once or twice. Like you can do it. And so I've actually had 3 clients that had knee replacements get recommended to me, and they wound up being better after me versus going to PT. You know, because I've been through it, so I can literally tell you things. And you know, I tell people too, and you know, if someone you know is having, like, come ask me, you know, send me a message, I'll tell you the truth. You know, how's it going to feel, how long it's going to take, whatever it might be. But the day I stopped trying is probably the day I took my last breath. So I'll definitely keep doing this until I'm 90 years. I always say it'd be funny, you know, you're in the bench in the bar when you're 105 years old and you're like 10th rep, okay, I'm done. You know, but you're still there.
How about that 62-year-old guy right now that's banging out the reps? He's all,
Yep.
he's all over social media.
Funny you say that. I just signed a new client. He's 62, had a quadruple bypass 4 years ago, climbed Mount Kilimanjaro 2 years ago.
Awesome.
And he's like, I need to add some size. So I was like, yeah. And, you know, we clicked immediately because of the, you know, history.
Wow.
So it was great.
Joe, are you still actively competing?
Not right now. My goal is to, you know how Jay Cutler did his Fit for 50 this year, or he,
yeah.
That's fantastic.
I want to kind of do the same thing, but get on. So when I had my knee surgery, I literally had kind of like a bucket list of things. So far as like squatting, right? You'd think like, why would you free squat? So like it was early 2020, February 2020, I hit 405 for 2. I go, you know what? I know I can do it. Don't need to do it again. You know, kind of like a checklist. So that's one of my checklists, is to definitely get on stage at least one more time. So my goal is to do it when I'm 50. If I can get all this stuff healed up, and like do a mini prep a couple times and do that. That's my goal, is to do at least one more. I've never had the goal to be pro. That's just been me. I enjoy competing to stay in shape. I think it's a perfect way to stay in shape. You know, you diet down, do a show late spring, early summer, maintain over the summer, and then grow in the fall, and repeat every year. My wife competes and she would like to be a pro, and I actually prepped her, and everyone was like, how do you do that? I go, well, when she asks for a critique, I go, whose eyes are we looking? Is it coach's eyes or husband's eyes? And she knows that, you know, if you're making a physique thing, it's against the rules. It's not against a personal, you know, mindset, so to speak. So, you know, people are like, how do you do that? I was like, I'm pretty patient, you know, but it's just, you know, what better way could you see than your partner having, you know, success in whatever they want to, you know. And we try to set a good example, you know, is how to do that, how not to fight because you're low carb day or whatever, or set examples. You know, I have 2 girls that are 16 and 19, and try to set examples for them and just be healthy.
That's awesome, man.
Just to double back a little bit, you
Yeah.
were talking about how the competitor today is different than they were years ago, and what I experience is that every show is a national qualifier, and
Very valid. Yeah.
and I'm like, oh, I won my class, and there's 3 people in the class, and they go, I want to go to nationals. I said, listen, I'm 60 years old, okay? It took me from competing from 1987 till 2023, and I
Right.
finally was able to achieve it. It doesn't happen overnight.
No. And I even told people, or I have one client that would be masters, and I was like, dude, go to masters. Well, if I can't beat anybody else, why should I do this? I was like, who cares how you get your pro? I was like, you're good enough, and they hold it in different spots. And I was actually thinking about that earlier too, because when I first, if I remember right, I think USA's gave cards to the top 2 overalls in the
Yes.
overall, and the nationals it was first and second. But some of these classes, and I'm not against adding classes. What I have an issue with is when they get pro cards at the junior shows, and then it just gets saturated. Like Kristen will talk about bikini competitors. I was like, I have no idea who you're talking about. Outside of Mello, who comes is our gym, maybe a couple of the. But I was like, there's so many, and same thing with all the other classes. Physique. It's just like too many.
The other contributing factor to that mindset is social media, because
Yeah.
you just see people's highlights on social media, and people want this instant success.
Right? How about the people that will post all the way up to a show, support me, support me, support me, and they get their ass handed to them, and you're not
right, or you hear excuses. Yeah.
Oh, there's a post about the I held water. I didn't know you're fat. Yeah. It just is what it is. That junior national, I was flat. And then between the shows, I knew what I did. So I literally went burger and fries, Coke, and donuts. I came back. Oh, you're drying out. I was like, no, I haven't pissed. I'm filling out. There's a difference. I got to that point where I started filling out. But I had a coach. How'd you do this person's water? I'm like, why do you care? Well, it looked like this. I go, that wasn't what we were trying to do. So I didn't ask you for your opinion. Stay out of it. And then you got those coaches, that because everybody's a coach now. You do 1 show, 2 shows, and then you're a coach. Okay, could you diet somebody once? Sure, probably. Well, what happens after that? What happens if something? I had one client one time where she couldn't eat oatmeal the first time, it upset her stomach, and the second show, potatoes upset her stomach, but oatmeal was fine. One of those weird things, Still don't
Joe, every prep is different.
Yeah, 100%. I was doing a prep when I did the junior nationals, and I was using a coach, and because I hold a little extra fat, that's just my natural. First thing, pulling carbs, and I'm like, look, I need to have a rotating. Oh, you don't need food. I was like, it's not because I need it because of my head. I know that the way my body works, I do a carb rotation, and I took over my diet, and I'll be honest, I did I do 600, 400 on the weekend, carbs, 200 for 2 days and 300 days. And the weight just started falling off, pound and a half, 2 every week. And that's just it is. Because, about 4 days, your body adjusts to anything. A lot of people forget that.
Yeah. As the body changes and adapts, the prescription needs to change, period. End of story,
Yep.
And the other frustration I have is, people want to start working with me, and then I say, you have to go for blood work. They go, oh, what? And I go, I will not start. I will not start with you until I get it. I'm going to get it. No. I need that. That's that data I need to set everything up.
Yeah, and you might, if you don't notice a change in your body, you're not going to sometimes notice a change in your levels from the blood work will tell you. And I know how many. It's kind of funny, like women. Well, they'll complain, and it's like, did you check your test levels? And they're like, why? I'm a woman. I was like, you need it just like we do, just not as much.
Exactly.
And you bump it up just enough to that where it's supposed to be, you'll be amazed how you feel.
Yep. And I when I talk to clients and the company I work with, Integrated Wellness, it's about levels being optimal, not just in the normal range.
Tuning your engine is what I call it to get the output. I had my I had my yearly, and I was just doing HRT levels, and my count was like 1,200, and the doctor's like, "You should probably lower that." I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
No, because you know what, he's looking like this,
Right.
does he look at your hematocrit, and it's okay, you know,
Yeah.
and as you look at your cholesterol, and it's okay, you know what I mean? You're not, it's all individual. You're not showing any ill effects from being at that level,
Right, exactly. And I'm very intimate about telling parents if they have sons to go get their levels checked at 1920. So they have the bar for what was their natural high, whatever number that would be. So when they get 30, 40, 50, like my mom sent my dad when he was 60 because he was showing all the signs of low T, and he still had a 600 at 60. So they're like, "Oh, you're still fine." I was like, "Yeah, but what if he was a 1500 naturally, at 20?"
Yeah.
Well, 600 is great for the average 60-year-old, but it's not great for him.
Yeah. And the other thing, it's all symptom based. Are you having any symptoms? And the doctor will not even ask.
Yeah, he was showing them all. I mean, tired, lethargic, you know,
Yeah. Lack of
and
desire,
yeah,
depression, which, funny thing is that all those symptoms, a lot of people go to a doctor, they won't even do blood work, and they give them, they prescribe them an SSRI,
right. Yeah.
and incorrectly done, and irresponsible.
Yeah. I'm like I said, I'm very verbally trying to fix it yourself first. Like if you need something, go get it, but like explore the options. So I agree 100% with what you're saying. That's the way I do treat things too. And
Yeah.
like I said, especially if you want to be a competitor. Like I have one of my clients, she's going to do the Heart of Texas, which is second week of September. So I'll send her to go get her blood work and see where she's at, and 6 months out, and then every couple months to make sure that everything's okay.
Yeah.
If you
Yeah.
get something, then you got to see what. That's another thing, like people are like, should I take this, and this? And I'm like, well, if you add those four compounds, how do you know which one works? Start here, see what your body reacts to, whatever it might be, for creatine for all matters, and go from there. Don't be, putting too many cooks in the kitchen, so to speak.
And let's make sure that your training is on point and your food's on point. You know what I mean? Which before you start adding anything, it's like they think it's just going to be
Right.
magic, and I'm like, no,
Right.
food is the most important thing. Your training is just as important. That's
Yeah.
just the gravy,
Well, I call it next level training. I go, if I put 3 times 10 on there for the exercise, that's not all you do. You get to where 10 is heavy, and then you do how fast you get there is up to you. But that's what I call next level, where you're gonna get that growth and those changes from. You know, after my knee surgery, I just did the basic training because I was just trying to heal. But now, in the next few months here, I'll start adding that where one comp heavy sets at 8 reps or whatever it might be. Well, normally I would just go ahead and do the extra. And that, a lot of people that think they train hard, they don't.
Yeah,
Joe,
people definitely.
you know what? You're so right. People think they know what failure is. They don't.
And that's not me bragging. That's just
No, that's just a fact.
yeah, just you have to be a little crazy sometimes to take your body there, on certain days. But when I was at Metroflex Plano, no AC, no heat, or no AC, so it was very hot. It would take extra to really get to that level because it was all up here.
Yeah.
The lifting, the physical part wasn't that
Well,
bad.
the mind quits. The mind quits before the body does.
Yep, 100%. Excuse me.
Sure.
We got about 5 minutes left.
Okay. So do you guys have any more questions about Texas and the bodybuilding in Texas locally, or?
Yeah, I got a question for you.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Did you get one knee replaced and then the other?
Both at the same time.
How was that rehab? Tell me about that.
So I'll tell you what the doctor says. I'll tell you the truth.
Okay.
So the physical therapist at the hospital at that time was actually a gym member, and I woke up and I was like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And what's funny is the male nurse that was getting me prepped, saw that I was a bodybuilder, was actually asking me PED advice. I'm like, "Bro, get to me after this. I don't want to think about this right now." And then he's like, "You want the nerve block?" I go, "Do I?" He goes, "Yeah, you want the nerve block." So I woke up, I couldn't feel anything. As soon as they got me up to my room, they had me walking So that was the bad part was like lifting your leg into the bed, and then I had got an infection, so I had to go. I was in the hospital for 13 days, so I went to a rehab. So it's 3 days in the surgery center, and in theory, like if you just did one, you go home and do your normal PT rehab. Because I had that infection, I had to go to the other place. I was there 10 days and then 3 days in that. Um, they'll tell you it's a year to heal. It's a year to physically heal, and then probably another year to get back 100%. Like you can walk and do all that stuff, but like as far as training, like we do, I always tell people about a year. And then one thing they're like, no stairs, no stairs. My knees were swollen, and about 5 or 6 months post-op, I was like, screw this shit. I was like, someone help me up on the stair mill. And I did like 5 minutes. And once I did that, it actually broke a lot of the swelling up. So when I had the clients that had the double knees, same thing. I put her up there within a week of doing that. Not like, full 30, 40-minute cardio sessions.
Yeah, of course.
But the stair mill, it's not your full body weight. So to me, it actually is nicer on my knees than a treadmill. But um, there's still some, the only, how do I put this? So for me personally, if it was before the surgery, we could be talking and I'd be thinking about the pain and not what we're talking about. So being able to sit here and talk and not feel my knees is the number one win right there. I always thought because I was Puerto Rican, I just had a big ass from that, but my knees wouldn't allow me to get that forward tilt to get my quads involved. So it's usually more butt squatting, as I call it,
Yeah.
And but now naturally I have a little bit of that flexion and I'm able to get and my quads started growing. And I'm like, oh, I just thought I had bad quads. It was just bad angles.
Yeah.
Now that being said, I don't, I'm not gonna go try squatting 600 pounds or anything stupid like that. And I always tell everybody I might need my brakes changed down the road, the little pads inside the knee implants. But it doesn't really limit me that much, unless I'm dumb, train more than I know I need to. Uh, and the recovery really, as long as you do what you're supposed to do, you'll be fine.
The other thing is, and I'm sure you prepared yourself for surgery. A lot of people don't prepare.
Yep.
You actually, I'm not that you're prepping for a show, but you're preparing for surgery. So you have to be in really good condition before you go in. You agree?
Because I competed, I think I was like 206 the day of surgery, 207. And I literally wore my Superman chucks, my Superman undies, my Superman shirt, and everybody's like, why? I go, because I have to be a fucking Superman to do what I'm going to do. And it was my mindset. And people are like, are you serious? I said, damn, yeah, 100%. And with the infection, so that was on Tuesday. So when they took me to the rehab center, I was 237 to tell you how much fluid I was holding. So 30 pounds. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was crazy. Like,
well, the infection didn't help because I'm sure you had put you on
intravenous. No, that's what it was from. Yeah, 100%. Once that passed, everything fell back off. But like that can screw with your head just a little bit.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, you have to be. I'd rather have both knees done at once than do one and do one 6 weeks later.
Yeah.
6 months later, I'm sorry, is what they normally do if you need both. Because I think if you just do one, certain people will be like, screw this, I'm not going to get the other.
Yeah.
But of course, and my doctor goes, you're the first bilateral I've ever done. I'm like, do I get a medal or something? I mean,
is this a good
idea? But yeah, he's like, come in every other year, to get checked out till I retire. I was like, well, when you're retiring? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, all right. So like every other year I'll go get checked. And right now, actually, I have a bone spur on the outside of my kneecap that I have to have cut off. So I have another one lined up at some point this year. That shouldn't be too bad. But
won't do it in July because I'm coming back in July.
No. It would.
I get a chance to train with you then.
Well, you let me know. I'll make sure I'm 100%. Trust me.
And end of July, I'll be there.
Okay. We're not. Yeah, we'll be here. We'll have nothing in July.
Awesome.
Everywhere else, but not in July. And you're all welcome to come too. I mean, I know a guy that can get you in for free.
You had a question?
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah.
So obviously you've had a lot of famous people come in the gym, a lot of bodybuilders, all the pros, Mr. Olympias. Who's like the most famous person that
Comes to
you've
the
met?
gym,
Yeah.
or have I met personally?
Yeah, that you've met at the gym at any time. They don't have to be a regular. Could have just came there once.
I'm gonna visit. Man, that's a good question. There's been so many of them. Because when we have like the Texas Pro and stuff, people come in.
Yep.
Like I've known Steve Kuklo since
I know
he
Kuklo
was a
very well.
baby. Yeah.
We sponsored Kuklo years ago at Universal.
Yeah, I remember.
I in all my years working there, I only got in trouble once for a restaurant bill, and it was because of Steve Kuklo. We took
King
him for
steak.
sushi after he competed in nationals. It was the year before he won his pro card. He
Yeah.
just came in second, whatever. We fly him to Jersey. We do a
Yeah.
photo shoot. I take him for sushi. He ate so much sushi in one sitting. One, the chef came out and wanted to meet him to see this guy.
Right.
And two, the owner of Universal called me in his office and questioned me why the bill was so high. And that was the only time I ever got questioned. It's
I
'cause
would
of
have just
Kukla.
said he was hungry.
No, I mean, we explained it to him, so I didn't get in trouble, but it's just funny.
Is he totally retired now?
I don't know.
Oh, he had a
I
baby,
have
right?
he just had the baby. I haven't talked to him lately, but when I saw him, I almost gave him shit for looking for so small. Well, and what I mean by small is what I'm used to is normal
Yeah.
280.
Yeah, he looked like he leaned out a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I haven't talked to him personally about it.
I know
I'm
he's still
sure,
posting.
he'll do his show is June 1st, the local show that he does. And he'll use, if he's gonna announce something, sometimes it's usually during that. So I'll keep my ears open. I think he still has a few good years left in him. I mean,
I don't think he's hit his peak. I don't think was ever at his best. I think his best is yet to come. That's what I feel.
yeah.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean a little break
Some
ain't gonna hurt him. Probably hits.
debatable losses against Ian Valier. Anyone could argue
Yeah.
that.
Well, I'm definitely gonna pull for Steve over that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I got picture Ian Bear, John Meadows, Brian Shaw's been at the gym. I could probably name more people than just one famous person.
That's what I figured. That's cool.
Especially during Olympia time, like Derek, was around. I mean, just everybody, and then our crew. So you get Branch Johnny, guy, Dennis Wolf is doing some stuff with us now.
Cool.
And I'm like, I see him now. I'm like, your head looks big. He's it's like the one thing that you used to see him like that, and then it's like, oh, now your head looks big. But he's been around lately. Like I said, he was around for a while. He hasn't been with us for a while, but he usually stop by his gym.
Keon's training at Dragon's Lair now, right? Even though
he is, he was in Dallas for a while. He came to get his little sign hung. Yeah, I mean, Keon's my boy, and I just gotta get that condition better, though, in my opinion. He needs to get that old man a little bit, that old man graininess, which will come.
He's still young. He's still young.
He's still a baby. And I tell people all the time, what your body does between like 28 and 32, just in maturing, whether it's just you'll see it there. And Hunter, we got hunters always up usually, to do photo shoots and stuff. So I've known Hunter for years, so I knew him when he was competing as an amateur. We used to go down to the show because Branch did his first show as Labrada back in the day. The amateur.
I did not know that.
Okay. Yep, he's probably on film somewhere. Him telling the story. So because the story goes like Labrada saw him, was like, yeah, you're gonna be something. Because I don't know if you remember your teen history, but Branch actually beat Jay at the teen nationals.
Yes,
I did not.
Yes, I knew that. Yeah.
Yep. So,
I still get such a kick at how he trains. I mean,
yeah, I'm always like
Hollingshead. He's training with Hollingshead, and he's just blasting out reps like there's no tomorrow. And I'm just like,
yeah, and
this and Johnny are just defy gravity. They're just amazing.
So Trisha's pregnant, so they're having her baby boy tomorrow.
Oh, congratulations, family.
Yep. So yeah, I think she's being induced, but she was in there training clients Saturday and Monday.
Crazy.
Crazy. So I was like, you better be careful. That kid's got, turns around, kicks you. You got some pretty strong legs, I bet already.
Those genetics, man. Imagine that.
Oh yeah. I mean, their daughter's like a high level gymnast at 12, and you see the little legs on her. I was like, yeah, I'm jealous. But it's all big one family.
Yeah. This is really cool, Joe. It's cool to meet you, and definitely
It was a real
appreciate
pleasure.
your time.
Always. And you
Yeah,
guys, like I said, you're always welcome.
let's definitely tell everyone how they can learn more about you. I know with your Team Fit IG, talk about Destination Dallas, and obviously your
Team
affiliation.
Fit Fantauzzi is my IG. That's also my website, teamfitfantauzzi.com. Probably easiest thing is get on Instagram and just send a text through there if you have any questions. I do both online and in gym like most everybody else. So
Yeah.
And I'm real. Like I don't, it's not a rah-rah sport. It's not like track where you can, oh yeah, you had more time. I was like, I won't give you a compliment till we're done. You know, I was like, I'll give you a compliment when you're walking off stage, for competitors and stuff like that. But yeah, most of my fitness stuff is all on my IG and then on my website. So you can contact me through both.
Awesome. And you train exclusively at Destination Dallas, Joe, for the
Yeah.
most part? Okay. I know you mentioned Stroud.
Seems like I live there. So yeah.
Okay.
There's not really anything in the vicinity that comes close. So you know how it is. You get used to
Yeah.
equipment that you don't have somewhere else. So
Yeah.
I'm there all the time. You might as well.
The gym's tremendous. Listen, there's a reason I'm coming back.
Yep.
It's fantastic.
There are a couple other gyms nice to visit in the area that we might go as a group every now and then. But normally 9.9% is at there.
I got to get there for a breakfast and barbells event.
Every third
you
Saturday. Every third
mentioned
Saturday.
too, to kind of close it up. I mean, your affiliation with Gasp and Better Bodies and all the history there, and we all just got to say, I think we've all had that kind of experience. I mean, Mike Johansson. I mean, just Scotty said it before, just unbelievable, like community building and just how he gets everybody involved. Whether it's a post, the way he talks. I met him at the O. I mean, he couldn't have been more of a gentleman. Remembered me when he saw me later on throughout the day. Hey, I didn't forget you. So you're just really affiliated with a great gym and great people there, and obviously it shines through you.
Yeah, and we will have a booth at the Arnold just through one of our competitor, like a third party vendor. So it's one of our athletes that has stores, so he'll have a booth there. Not as big as we used to, because when we did it in the mid 2000 teens, we had like a 1,600 first store, literally.
Yeah, you guys built like a little mini store that you had to walk into, and yeah, it was cool. I liked it.
Yeah, not setting up as tearing down wasn't cool, but
I've did it 10 times for animals, so I know.
Yeah, no, it was great, the stage and all that. So we had some good memories from there.
Well, Joe, certainly I could speak on behalf of all of us. I mean, again, thank you so much for your patience on getting on our podcast from 23 to now, and just always being a gentleman when you're communicating with me. I knew there was going to be great stories. I know there's probably so much more as well. Everyone's got to check out, the people on this podcast, certainly Joe on Team Fit Fantauzzi, and check out what we're talking about on Destination Dallas. You're definitely going to be inspired by the footage there and what Joe does. But again, what Eric does with Poor Power and his reviews, and as you could tell from Scotty, I mean, all the things that he knows about, anti-aging and wellness and longevity and programming. Reach out to any of us. Again, it's Gym Guys Pod. This was episode 22, and we want to do a lot more of just kind of bringing the knowledge to you. It's a very regular guys, Gym Guys type of show, or girls, and we love doing it. We love meeting people like Joe, obviously. So please tune in again on the next episode of Gym Guys Podcast, and thank you all. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Joe, it's been a pleasure.
Same, likewise.